All right, I'm back. Gonna give it another shot. One watching. Try to get on the chat box if you are online. Okay, we got 4 watching. All right, great. Exhaust 24, good. You know what? And this is really weird because I'm watching myself live on my Google Hangout, and then I'm also watching my YouTube channel, and it's a delay. This didn't happen yesterday, but the only thing I can do to not get myself distracted is to just put the YouTube one on mute. So I'm gonna pretend I'm not even gonna looking at it. All right. We got questions coming in. So let's just. I got a schedule here, so I want to make sure that we get through some of the topics for tonight's discussion and such. So give me a moment. I'm just gonna pull up my notes here. All right. First of all, I want to kind of say hi to the people who are already here. We've got Trages, and then we got Exhaust 24. How you guys doing? And then we've got we got more people that are watching, and there's Anders Fletcher. Hey Anders, how are you, man? Got 7 viewers that are coming up. Now, I just answer one thing. I don't know whether you're joining because you're part of the YouTube group or because of the email that I sent you. So just send me a quick note to let me know. Because unfortunately, I canceled the previous one that I was doing, and that's now gone. So I don't know if those people had already left or how this thing works. All right, Tubular, welcome. Watching football at the same time. Really good. All right, you saw it on YouTube. Okay, great. So you must have had a note that came up when you're watching some other video or something like that. So anyway, very good. Good to have you, man. All right, we just have a few people that are here now. And I'm going to have to try to do these as often as I can because it's really weird trying to figure out the technology and how to get it to work smoothly. But this is so weird because I was hoping that people could get on the Google Hangouts, but that's not happening. Now everybody's on YouTube. That's okay. That's all right. Well, first thing I wanted to talk about is we've got, by the way, a 25,000 subscriber giveaway that's going to be coming up here pretty soon, which is really nice. It's actually going to be a much bigger prize that we're going to give away. And I'm going to be posting up the contest rules in maybe next week or so. But it's going to require a little bit of collaboration from you. Hopefully we can get more people involved into this channel and just kind of get a little bit of a movement going, because I really want to concentrate on educating people the values and the benefits of drawing or honing in on your skills, on the analog skills. There's a lot of concentration and there's a lot of focus that's going on in the digital, because you have to be, if you are going into a professional field of design, or even if you're just a hobbyist, everything is kind of going digital, and people seem to think that they need to steer away from the analog tools. And I want people to understand that's really not the case. That when you start to draw, or when you are really looking into getting into this profession of design, or if you're just pursuing it as a kind of a hobby, that just about everything starts with fundamentals. And all the fundamentals are always going to start with sketching by hand, going outside, drawing what you see, and being observant of the world around you and how to interpret that world. And even though we have tools, I'm going to take this off here. Even though we have tools right now that allow for it, for you to do that, the tactile feel and the tactile feel that you have when you draw is just not the same when you get to using digital tools. And it's okay to use digital tools once you become a professional, or if you're going to school and you have to kind of learn it. But you are really missing out on that relationship between yourself and the utensils that are using to draw. That tactile feedback, feeling that pencil and that friction on the page. It's really very important as you start off, especially at the beginning. So I just want to make that point. So anyway, the 25,000 subscriber giveaway, that's going to start with part of that whole package is going to be the How to Draw Cars Now DVD course, which is pretty extensive. It's almost about a semester's worth of content in a box. And you really learn a lot of fundamentals. So if people have not, if you're watching my videos on YouTube and you're getting a lot of value out of those videos, then great. But some people tend to want a little bit more. It's just more of a structured approach where they can take things kind of step by step. And people have been getting a lot of results by taking the course. So anyway, that's going to be part of the giveaway. The other part of the giveaway, we've got Canson, and we also have Chart Pack. They're going to be giving some products away. So you're going to get a 9x12, a 9x12 packet, which is really nice. And if you can excuse me, I got to make one adjustment that I forgot to do. And that is, whoops, this. There we go. All right. Sorry about that. So there's the 9x12, because when I was showing it before, it was flip-flop. 9x12 marker pads for sketching. And then there's also a 14x17. These are all 50 sheets. And I've been working with these, and they're great. I mean, I've had, I typically use Letraset, but I haven't had any issues at all using the products from Canson, which have been great. And I'm going to be doing some other demos on that in the future as well. So that's good. Now, the other thing that's going to come with that package is 25 sets of Chart Packs. I love Chart Pack markers. I use many of them, not just Chart Pack, but Chart Pack is definitely one of them that I like. It's just the feel that I get when I use them. It's really super smooth, and it's got a chisel point, and it's got a particular feel when I'm drawing and I'm sketching. The other ones are also pretty good. There's things like Copic markers, but Chart Pack has been very kind to participate in this giveaway. So I wanted to definitely make sure that they got some credit for helping us out here. So those guys have been pretty awesome and supportive. So Anders Fletcher is saying that I'm drawing now. He wants to send it to me. You can just send me an email if you'd like. That's no problem. And it looks like Sammy Park. Nice drawings. Thank you very much, Sammy. I appreciate it. Let's see, who else do we got? We got more people that are coming in. Great. So I will keep reading some of your questions as I start talking. The other thing that I want to talk about is Driven to Draw. If you've not gone over to Driven to Draw, which is our website, let me just type that in here. I want to make sure that so you can see that here in the lower thirds. I want to make sure that you head on over to the site, because the site has a lot of other different content that you don't typically see on YouTube. We've got a podcast where I do talk to other designers and other professionals, and we do discuss a lot of things that are going on in the industry. And then we talk to other professionals who are, whether they're artists. We just finished up an interview and we posted that with Stan Prokopenko. And that was a terrific interview, because you not only just learn just his mindset and how he's kind of developed his own skill sets into being a fine artist, but you also learn about his creativity is in other areas and how he leveraged that creativity in creating a business, which is pretty inspirational when you look at it, when you listen to that. Excuse me. Oh, all right. How long did it take for me to become a professional at drawing? Well, it's kind of an ongoing thing. You never stop learning, but I went to design school. I finished my industrial design degree. And after I finished my industrial design degree, I went back and did my engineering degree as well, believe it or not. So though I'm in the automotive industry, I've got this kind of a dual path where now I'm kind of leading a team on a particular project. So some of the things I do now, I'm not as actively engaged in doing a lot of that kind of work. So some of the things I do now to kind of keep up my game is to do things like this, is to constantly sketch and draw and to learn. And now I'm more vested into the teaching thing. So if you go to a good school, back to your original question, if you go to a good school, then 4 years should be enough for you to practice and to develop the craft. And then after that, after you start getting into working in the industry, and you're constantly going to be learning more things. You're going to learn not only how to apply your design skills, but you'll be learning how to work with other team members, how to learn to understand the constraints with engineering. What are the balances that you need to work with? What are the compromises that you need to make? And so as a fully functional team, you're really going to learn that dynamic. And in school, it's a lot more fun, because you don't really have as many constraints. You have some of them where we have packaging studies and you're given a project and you have to work within some parameters and everything. But by and large, there's no way for you to get into that level of detail when you work with other team members in engineering, because your project is only going to be like a semester long. And when you work on a program, you're going to develop a vehicle that's going to go for like 2.5, 3 year development cycle. So it's completely different. And it has to be engineered. You have to go through testing. You got to go through so many different aspects of the design. You might be changing things, and then how does that affect your timing? So it's a really big learning process. We've got some other people that have just joined. Hello, Kiran. Thanks for joining, Kiran Gopal. And just kind of going through your questions here. Drawing here, way to send it to you. You should be able to, if you want to send me your drawing, send it to drivenmavens@gmail.com. I'll definitely take a look at it. So anyway, I hope, Sammy, that kind of answered your questions there. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is that we're going to be going through a quick sneak peek. I am going to be changing things up on the site a little bit. I know that a lot of people have been enjoying and getting a lot of value out of the videos that I'm posting on YouTube. And you've probably noticed also a little bit of a slowdown, actually a lot of a slowdown. As you know, it gets really difficult to manage your basic lifestyle with working full time and then having a family and having kids and taking care of all those things, and you have so many other responsibilities. So that has an effect on how I produce content and having a regular schedule, and I try to keep a regular schedule. But when I start to embark on some of the larger things, a larger vision of what I'd like to do to help people up their game a little bit, or at least prepare them for design school, or just prepare them to get into the hobby of drawing, then there's a lot of other things I need to kind of consider. So back to, I'm kind of digressing here, but back to what I was saying before. How I'm going to be changing things up a little bit is I'm really trying to focus more on how people learn and how people can get more results from the get-go. That means a lot of people are used to purchasing books or purchasing courses or whatever it is. And sometimes they feel that after they purchase those courses, they think they're going to go from, they're going to start from point A, and then they're going to go from point A to point Z instead of B, right? Because you get inspired by all the person who's a professional who's doing the work and showing you, but there's definitely a lot of mileage that it takes for you to get to that other point. Now, the good part is that if you are already a professional, you're already a drawing hobbyist, and you've already got some mileage, then you might be able to get more value into some of these classes, be able to apply them right away. And that's some of the things I'm even going to talk about myself, that I'm not good at everything. I'm good at drawing and getting into design and talking about cars and all that stuff. But I have also other ambitions. I've also like to increase my own creativity, and I'm also kind of like a self-experiment. And so what we're going to be shifting to is more of a modular based system. It's something that I've just been coming up with and developing. It's been in the works to kind of help people take clumps of information and be able to implement them right away, and hopefully be able to get those results very quickly. So it's a really important way to learn, and it's not only something that's a value add for people who are beginners, but also the professionals. Because, like I said, I also invest and I also look at other people's work, and I get inspired and I say, hey, I kind of like that technique. Is there a way I can take that technique and apply it to something else that I'm doing? And that's the main takeaway. And you really should try to really should focus on try to always improve yourself. I mean, that's what we do. When you go to work and you start to work in the industry, your whole idea, whole premise of working is to not just do that same job over and over again, but to get better at that job and hopefully try to move up that ladder, right? So that should be the aspiration of always trying to improve yourself, self-improvement. Hey, Michael K. Good to see you. I wonder if that's Michael Kilbane. So if that's you, awesome. Good to see you, buddy. Sebastian Bose. All right, he's got a question here. Does a career, okay, Sebastian Bose, I hope I pronounced that correctly. If I didn't, I'm sorry. But he asked me, does a career in transportation design require physics or any science at all? A career in transportation design require physics? Well, I mean, I guess it depends how you look at it. To me, I come from a different background. The thing is that the way the industry is, especially something very big, if you are a designer that designs custom cars, that means a one-off car, then having more knowledge about processes and engineering uh, is probably more value add for you than somebody that's working in for like the big three, like Ford, Chrysler, GM, or something like that. And let me tell you why that is. The reason being is that if you're designing a custom vehicle, you're designing one vehicle for a client that has a certain set of requirements. And there's a lot of value for a person that can probably have multiple skill sets. He knows how to weld the vehicle. He knows a lot about vehicle dynamics, so that when he's designing something that's custom for the car, he's not just looking at the exterior and the aesthetic portion of it, but he has to really think about how's this thing going to be put together. So what are the parameters and what are the things that he's changing? Because if he ends up cutting certain things that's going to compromise the strength of the vehicle, then there's going to be a problem with that, right? So a lot of these people who, I have a good friend of mine who is a hot rod designer, they are so engrossed into this entire process that they are not just passionate about just the aesthetics, they're passionate about everything about that vehicle. And because they're more or less they might be a contract person, they might be an independent person, there's no real job description for them, so they can do whatever it is that they want. They can leverage whatever skill set that they want to be able to increase the success rate of that vehicle, or that project, the output of that project. When it comes to car design at one of the big three, everyone's job is already predefined. You have engineer, and you have an industrial designer, an automotive designer, and then you have finance people, and then you've got people in comfort, and there's not a lot of room for you to kind of wiggle into the engineering side and help. And then you have studio engineers within the studio that act as the liaison between designer and the engineer. So if the studio says, hey, I want this particular aesthetic, he will probably push the studio engineer to say, how can we develop the feasibility around this particular design so that our theme makes it into this product. So I hope that makes sense. So from that standpoint, you don't really need physics in a way. It's good to know it, but it's not compulsory that you need to have that background. I'm different for me because I'm an engineer already, and I'm even practicing engineering. That more knowledge can't be a bad thing for you. All right. There are arguments though out there that if you know too much and you have too much knowledge, then that stifles creativity, and that can be true. But my argument is that it depends on who you are and how open-minded you are. So between shutting off the left side and the right side of the brain, that's going to be the difference. But to me, always having more knowledge is always better. If you know a little bit about plastic injection molding, then even as you're creating your design concepts, you'll understand that, hey, this shape is dialogue. I can't even produce this. Or you might even come up with a more creative solution of making it work. So anyway, I hope that answers your question. Form follows function. That is correct. Form follows function. Yep. I mean, that's basically the motto for design, right? I mean, form is always going to follow function. So, all right. So the next thing is, as far as the value courses, I want to just show you a couple of the courses that are being developed. So what I can do here is, I don't know how I'm going to share my screen, but I'm going to try to do it. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Before I do that, Sebastian Bose asks, I guess I should be more specific. Is physics necessary to get a degree? No. If you're asking about the curriculum of design, no. From what I understood, what is probably important is that you need to go to a reputable school. I'm not saying that, and I had this question. This is also on my podcast. I have a podcast on Driven to Draw that speaks extensively about this, uh, because a lot of people have been asking, do I need to? Is it possible to become a professional designer without going to a good school? And the answer is that it really depends on how good you are. I mean, we look at portfolios and we try to see whether people have talent, but the problem with that is that if you do not go to a reputable school, there's these relationships that are also built between universities, and you have alumni that have graduated from Cleveland Institute of Art or Art Center or CCS, and those are the people who are going to be hiring. So I talked to one of my friends. They said, no, we also look at talent, right? So if you're very talented, you went to Lawrence Tech, but still, it's got to be centered around a school that has the kind of curriculum that is set up around the automotive industry and what they're looking for. So they're going to be looking for a particular skill set from people. Now that might change because now we're looking at autonomous vehicles, and there's been discussions that aesthetics of the exterior may not be as important as now human factors. So now human factors engineering and human interface design is really important, really important. So that also can help with giving some opportunities there. So I hope that answered your question, Sebastian. Uh, yeah. Trying to scroll up to see some of these other things, other questions here. Okay. I'm interested in the tuner vehicles such as drift cars. Could you teach us how to draw cars with a wide body kit in the future? Okay. So Sammy Park asked, I'm interested in tuner vehicles such as drift cars. Could you teach us how to draw cars with a wide body kit in the future? Yeah, I suppose I can look into that. I don't know. To be honest, I don't even know too much about tuner vehicles. So it's something I probably would have to look up myself. Uh, but again, I mean, just about any project that you do, there's a certain level of research that you have to do before you even start a project. And so it's always a good habit to get into that. So real quickly, as far as some of the courses that are coming up, let me just show you real quick. All right, I got a couple here. We've got concept car right here. This is really in the style of rendering, of old school style rendering, which is very important for people if you're drawing by hand. A lot of people who go to CCS or Lawrence Tech, all the classes at the beginning really focus on these fundamentals of, of, of creating a really quick sketch, and then traditional medium and traditional tools to be able to realize your concept. So, all my videos right now, they're going to be 1080p. I'm going to make sure that they're all high definition, and they will also be kind of broken down into very distinct processes and stuff that you can follow. So that is the first one. And then there's another one here also where we just talk about, or we go into understanding classic cars. Because classic cars, if you think about the 50s and 60s, the vehicles back then were really something else. They had a lot of character back then. And so, part of some of this is to really get people to understand shape and form from back then, because the way they formed sheet metal back then and the kind of forms you created back then are completely different than what's allowable today, because you got a lot of regulations and restrictions and things like that. So this is really more of an education to understanding, the sections and the forms and how are they created, and just breaking those things down to you. Some of these things, I've had free stuff on YouTube that are all sped up. I've got some music in the background and things, and Uh, but still, if you don't have somebody that's kind of coaching you throughout the entire process and setting things up, uh, you don't know what you don't know. So even when people view videos out there on YouTube, it's really difficult to interpret or to really understand everything. So that's something that as a coach or somebody that's trying to educate and teach people, that upping the level of quality education and giving people a very clear and defined uh, courses that help, that's more structured, is really what people are really going to be needing in order to get to that next level of improving themselves. So those are two of them, like I said, that are in the works. Got some more questions coming here. We've got Exhaust 24. I'm setting up my little studio at home. Could you make a video if you have already all your studio and set up? Yeah, sure, I'd do that. Yeah, it's not a problem. One thing I'll tell you that I do, I don't know about any of you, but I'm like a big kid. I might be super serious, or when I go to work, everything is business, but at home, I've got all my toys everywhere. You can actually just see it here in the back. I've got uh, I've got my toy cars, I've got my models, I've got some of my paintings, and I've got my figures. I'm a big superhero fan, so it is, for me, it's all about a positive attitude, and it's about inspiration. And things that work are different, and I'm surrounded by a lot of inspiration. But when I get home, I try to make sure that I'm surrounded with things that kind of uh, enhance or help with my creativity. So I like to kind of keep all my hobbies and all the things that I typically like to have around, and I just kind of surround myself. So I have all my art books, I've got my design books, I've got all my stuff on shelves. I've got a stand-up desk here. I've got places where I can hang up my drawings, and I've got a whiteboard also if I got to write notes. And then, of course, I've got my case that's filled with all my Hot Wheels, all my other collections, and that sort of thing. So definitely, if you're interested in that, I'd be more than happy to kind of show you. It's not big, it's not a huge office room, but it's definitely enough for me. Let's see what else we got here. Nice rendering, shading really shapes the car. In my opinion, I got problems deciding the placement angle of windshields, bar supports. Got any tips? Okay, windshields, bars. Okay, supports. Got any tips? What you have to do is start. So this is from Trejas. Sorry if not pronouncing that correctly, but let's see. I'm sorry, I was reading another comment there too. Got distracted, but all right. So first of all, when you're drawing vehicles, I think a lot of answers that you're looking for are readily available with even taking even model cars and trying to study them, reverse engineering. And I'm also going to be developing, hopefully some videos on how you can do that. But it's all about, proportion. It's understanding where your wheelbase is. It's understanding a little bit about the packaging as well, depending on whether you have a mid-engine, you have a front engine, rear engine. From that packaging constraint, you'll have to understand where the windshield is supposed to be placed, and you'll understand where the headlamps have to be placed and where the doors need to be. And then you've also got packaging a certain amount of real estate and room that you need for packaging occupants. And that's going to be dependent on whether you have a two-door sports car, or whether you have a sedan, or whether you have a minivan, or any of those, sort of parameters you have to make sure that you're looking into. So as far as, let me go back to your original question here, placement angle. They all they all change. It's different for a truck. It's different for a Jeep. Trucks are more blocky, so the constraints for that are different. You got to look at the form language of a truck. What do you want to communicate? So all those things play a vital role to the end aesthetic. I'm just reading more stuff. So I would say, Trey, just look at, the other thing I would do is that look at, there are some videos I have on YouTube that talk about proportions. So I would look at the side views and always start with a side view first. I think it's a mistake that people make very often, that they feel they need to start off with perspective. But the argument that I have, and that's something that I really focus on this course, is that there's a misconception that side views are boring. I want to just start with going right into 3D. But the truth of the matter is that everything starts with that side view. I mean, how you lay out your wheelbase, your proportions of your vehicles, the profile of the vehicle, everything starts with that side view. And if you're not able to get a side view correctly, then the chances are your perspective is not going to be correct either. And so there's always a lot of emphasis on making sure that you understand the core fundamentals. I would say one tip that you should definitely, if you're very serious about this, is to get the book H Point. H Point is an awesome book. It has a great balance between technical and having a lot of eye candy with packaging, and it's definitely not boring. It's definitely made by somebody that's I think it's Stuart Macy, who's a studio engineer, and it's beautifully written. It's beautifully done. Very easy to read. It's very easy to follow. So H Point will really help you with the packaging and understanding how vehicles are set up. Okay. All right, Michael K. So let me see what he's asked me. What make, brand are those diecast models? Were they expensive? Well, no, they're not. Well, I had a bunch of them. Let me see. You know what I did is I was very careful with picking certain models where I could get them pretty cheap on eBay, or if I bought them off of somebody. I had some of these models are really old. I bought Barago. They're not the best, but I bought some of my Barago models way back in 98 or 99, something like that. And I have a few good ones. I think that Hot Wheels makes some pretty good ones. And then Carroll Shelby, Shelby Collectibles. Let me show you that one. This is really awesome. So Shelby Collectibles, these are really sweet. I mean, I love this. And again, this is one of the cars I actually enjoy drawing. Ford GT Mark IV. Excellent vehicle. Love it. I love the proportions. And then I've got another one as well. I mean, so these classic cars are really made pretty well. And if you want to go really extreme, there are ones made by Exodo. I have one Exodo because I felt that at some point in time I have to have an open wheel racer, and I bought that also because it's an excellent source of reference material, a very expensive reference material, but those are pretty high. But I don't think I've spent, I don't think most of the stuff that I see here are probably around between $30 and $50 for the models, but Costco has great deals. You can get them for like $12. Maestro, I have a lot of Maestro as well. So Just so you know, that's kind of what my collection is. I probably have a few of them that are really nice ones and hard to get, but that's basically my collection right there. All right, give me one moment. I'm just scrolling through here. He gets Ford GT. Neeson, the farmer. Hey, I like that. I like that name. Have I done a tutorial on open wheel cars? Would you like to see one? Is that what you want to see? I could. I definitely could. In fact, it's something I was definitely considering doing. So if there's a lot of demand, I think it's a good thing. I think open wheel racers would be fantastic because it's always easy to hide your wheels around the wheel well and opening when you don't when you're looking at a traditional car. But doing open wheels are hard because you have to realize the entire shape and the structure of the wheel itself, and that's more difficult. Then you have to do it on both sides, so it gets a little challenging. But definitely something I would definitely would do. I have not done a Nissan Skyline, Mr. Neeson. Have I? No, I have not done. No, I've not done one of those. For some reason, I was thinking Fast and Furious if I had done something like that, but no. I know I did do the Toyota Supra. I did sketch one of those on Newsprint, so I didn't have one of those. One other thing I wanted to ask you guys and get your opinion is to really understand what are some of your pain points. What are the things that you are actually struggling with? What are the things that you need help with? And that gets a little bit tough for people because a lot of people have different things. And I think what I'll probably end up doing is try to get some of your feedback by conducting a poll. And we did that previously. And in fact, if you do enter into the competition of the 25K mark, I'm gonna to see whether I can have you guys fill out some information so I can understand what it is that you guys are looking for and what you guys want to do. I'm gonna also go through some other things here as far as things that I'm working on. I thought of, technical drawings. I know that a lot of people love Feng Zhu. I'm sure a lot of people know Scott Robertson. I know Scott Robertson pretty well, but starting to look at doing more technical drawings and how to kind of project those side views and get them to different views. Those are some of the things that I'm thinking of doing. I'm also thinking of kind of breaking down techniques. So you might have certain things where you're learning fundamentals and basics, but then people who are more experienced, people who are already working in the professional field, I'm also thinking of developing. I won't say thinking. I'm actually working on that right now as we speak. But working on techniques that will also help their own skills get a little better, or something that they can kind of apply to their own industry, or working on improving their craft a little bit. Yeah, Scott is the legend. He is the legend. Great guy too. I mean, he's such a humble person. I saw him at CCS, and I had him. I've got a few of his books, and I had him sign one too. So, in fact, we have a mutual friend that Scott was doing a lot of work for Hot Wheels, and I think one of my friends, also Brian, who works at Hot Wheels, used to work with us way back when. And now, Brian's doing fantastic. I think he even designed that Star Wars Darth Vader vehicle, which is so cool. So, all right, Neeson, my weak point in drawing is our tires. Okay, tires and rims. Yeah, they are. They are hard. I'm not going to lie. I think that a lot of people struggle with wheels and tires and rims. And to be honest, I struggled pretty badly. Even in school, I struggled. I would even say that I wasn't even that good after I even graduated. I could have been better. But I think part of the reason with all that stuff is that we haven't really trained. We know when something is off, but we haven't really trained our mind to see the correct degrees of the ellipse when we set it up. But Scott's books are excellent. But I'm going to be working on some of those things again when we start talking about the modular courses and things. That's also going to be something that I've been considering, which is really going to be helpful, is to really focus on one particular area and uh, help people practice just that particular thing, and to gain some better experience and gain um, some success in that without having to worry about a lot of the other details. So that should be some good stuff. Where did I study? Well, believe it or not, I studied at an engineering. I went to Purdue University, and this was way back. Purdue. I started off, like I said, I did my industrial design degree, and then I was in product design, and then I finished my engineering degree right after that. So I went to school for quite some time. My father is a professor there, so too. All right, excuse me. Okay, so I got Alex Pantoja. He's asking a question. Excuse me, sir. Do you know an exercise to have good pulse for drawing? And greetings, and I love your work. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Um, well, I'm not quite sure what you mean by good pulse for drawing. So if you can maybe just clarify what that means. Just going through more comments. Okay. Okay. More there. Give me one moment as I'm kind of scrolling through here. Feel like that. Just okay. So I got Michael's. I think I've answered his question there. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to. Give me a moment here. I'm gonna go back to my notes on other things that I want to discuss. Oh yeah. The other thing I want to discuss was some of the things that I'm working on as far as my own struggles. So we all have struggles, okay? Uh, you may have struggles on working on ellipses. You may have struggles on structuring your perspective or practicing your perspective. But everything is relative, right? I mean, just because I'm doing what I'm doing doesn't mean I don't struggle. So one of the things that I do is to constantly try to get out of my comfort zone. I think one of the things that are really awesome when you start to get your basics down is that your ability to take your skill and apply it to something else gets better and better. There is a podcast topic that I released about being the jack of all trades, and that there's the notion that being a jack of all trades is a very bad thing, because being a jack of all trades means you're basically a master of nothing, and that you're not really good at any one thing. And the basic premise of the entire podcast or that topic is that it's actually kind of false, because the jack of all trades, or that the notion that it's bad to know too many things and you're not an expert in one thing, is something that was developed several decades ago. But things are changing. Things have already changed, especially in this world of the internet, where you are now having access to a lot of information all of you guys right now who are watching me or you're learning things from YouTube, if you think back to when I was going to school, we didn't have any of this stuff, right? So the World Wide Web was just kind of being conceived. I even remember when I was eating lunch in the union, the student union, and we're talking about the World Wide Web. I was like, what's that? Can you believe it? I didn't know what that was. And uh, and even back then when we were having email for the first time, I was communicating with my cousins in India. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm communicating with through email. It was amazing. It was really amazing. But even back then, when you had web pages, you were very limited to what you can download and the images that you got to see. Everything was all low res, but it was really just amazing. Just the fact that you had information without having to go to the library was something else. So the main thing is that now people have so much information available to them. They have it available to them at their fingertips. So for me, when I went to Purdue, we didn't have access to information on how good the people at Art Center were. We knew they were, up in this, this super high level that was unattainable. We all thought that these were the gods of design, the gods of sketching, because they were so highly above anybody that we were used to seeing. It's not that we were bad. It's just that Art Center and CCS, these schools, they trained you to be prolific sketchers and designers, and it was really hard work. And we did good. We were a good school too, but the focus was kind of different. And so my sketching ability, I basically worked and worked on my own. And I also took some classes at CCS as well to kind of get an understanding of what it was all about. So that's the thing. It's just that you have so much more now available to you to be able to learn and to be able to uh, broaden your perspective, and that's kind of what I'm doing now. For me, I like to draw. Uh, I like to draw robots now. I like to draw things from some of this influence from my kids, but I'm also kind of curious to know how far can I develop my own skills, and can I transfer some of those skill sets to other areas. And I'm learning that that's a possibility. It's a very strong possibility because if you're a design professional, you're not starting from scratch anymore. It's not like, hey, you've been drawing for 10 years or whatever it is, 4 or 5 years, that now when you try to draw something else, you're trying from scratch. No, if your fundamentals are very sound, then you should be able to learn at a quicker pace because you already understand those basics, and now you're trying to apply that to something else. So uh another question here from Neeson. When I sketch cars, I usually go to some beaches and listen to some classics while I enjoy what I'm doing. Hey, that's great. I think it's a great way. I think one of the things I want to do too is to kind of get out there and maybe do some sketches live, right? Sit in front of something and uh, definitely get out there and just kind of be among the elements and just try to sketch something while I'm just right there then and there. I think that'd be really cool. I've seen, I don't know if anyone's seen James Gurney, who is really fantastic, but he does a lot of fine art, which is getting out there and drawing live and drawing outside and drawing what you see. And those are a lot of exercises that I do myself. And that's the other thing that I also wanted to point out for people who are watching this. You do not have to be you do not have to be a professional. If you're really looking into design, then God bless you, great. But getting into the mindset of just drawing on its own, even as a serious hobby, has wonderful benefits for the mindset. Drawing is very much a very healthy and relaxing thing to really get into because People can get stressed out, and people may do their exercises. Well, drawing is actually an exercise as well. And not only is drawing good for your uh, for your development, but it's also good for your mind. It's good for your training. I know that even at work, that by getting into these habits of drawing, or getting into these habits of observing, that my skills as a professional has also increased, because I'm really training myself to observe details, to observe those details. So whether it's observing color, whether it's observing how mechanisms work, drawing those mechanisms, or whatever it is, those are the things, that self-awareness is really what's going to help build your visual vocabulary over time. And that's where the creativity comes in, because from there you start to uh, go back and leverage your visual vocabulary, things that you've kind of stored up in your head. And then as your experience grows, then you're able to leverage, well, what if I take this and then I combine it with something else? So that exercise is, it's a wonderful thing to engage in and take part in. And you do not have to be a professional to be doing that. Okay, I've got Alistair Gonzalez. All right. I'm not trying to ignore you. He said, why am I not replying? So I'm just busy talking and talking that uh, I don't see the comment. So I'm not trying to ignore you. Let me see if I can find your earlier question here. So Alistair, I need to know what your question is, buddy. I think you're my ideal. It sounds like it's a good thing, so I'll say thanks. All right. Next thing. All right, I want you guys to tell me a little about yourself and what your hobbies are. So go ahead and type away. Meantime, I'm going to keep reading through your comments here. We got Andrew T. All right, he asked a question. Why, when you draw an ellipse in perspective, it looks slightly rotated, but when you draw a box around it, it then looks straight, if that makes sense? I don't know. I never thought about it that way. But I would probably think that it's more of an illusion, I suppose, that it looks because nothing should have really changed, right? Because when you're doing your ellipse in perspective, when you're drawing your box, all your lines should be converging into your vanishing points, right? So when you set up your vanishing point, that's going to be your minor axis, and your minor axes are going to be you're going to set up your minor axis or your ellipse around that minor axis, and your box is hopefully if you draw the box correctly and you subdivide them to find the midpoint of the box, then you should be able to map out where the 4 points are supposed uh, to be able to get your ellipse into perspective. And many people, even in my course, I show you how to kind of break that, break your cube or your rectangle and subdivide it. They're all techniques that people already know, but I think the thing is that you have to keep practicing it. And if you look actually at my previous video, yesterday I was doing a live event, and it seemed to be working a lot better when I started than when I started this, because this was all jacked up. But when I started that, you can kind of see how I set up my ellipses. I don't go through the full explanation or anything like that, just due to just time and everything, because it takes a lot of time when you're doing it live. But when you look at that, and there's a lot of books out there also that kind of show you how that thing's broken up. So I hope that kind of explains it. I hope. All right, what else we got here? Come on, buddies. Keep it coming, buddies. Come on. You know, we're at 10:15. I'm going to keep going because I'm actually having a lot of fun. But you know what? As the questions are coming, like I said, I was talking about got a bachelor. Okay, hold on. Okay, I got a bachelor in chemistry and soon a master's in industrial design. Industrial yesterday, kind of like you, improving my sketching marker skills now for future endeavors. Any experience in entertainment movies? Okay, me, no. Um, I do not particularly have experience in the entertainment. You know, I have a lot of friends uh, that are in those fields. Uh, it's funny because you know they were actually inspiring me, and for me, I just kind of do it because I just enjoy that process of learning. Another friend of mine, actually, John Blow. Again, he was featured on my earlier podcast. You should really go to the blog www.driventodraw.com and go to the podcast tab and look at the post with John Blow. And John, it's really funny when you listen to that podcast. John looks at my stuff and he's, you know, we both kind of look at each other's work, and there's a lot of self admiration. I mean, admiration for both of our skill sets. But John, when I first saw his work when I joined the company, he was and still is so fantastic. And I would have to argue that even though he's not practicing the things that he's doing professionally, his work is outstanding. In fact, give me a moment. I'm going to show you this. If I can find it. Okay. All right. I got this. And I don't know if John is watching. I think he wanted to attend this, but check this out. So this is John's hobby. All right. He goes to the elementary schools and he teaches kids. And mind you, he's not a professional comic book artist, but I used to marvel John's grasp on perspective. But I would have to say that this is some of the coolest stuff I've ever seen. I mean, he could be a professional. I mean, he could be a legitimate comic book artist, or someone that develops, and he's done this entire thing. He's developed the story basically for kids. And I tell you what, it's so freaking awesome, man. I mean, when he showed this to me, I was just nodding my head. But he does everything that a traditional artist or a professional does. And you should really check out his site, Trooper Treehouse, troopertree.com, by the way. And he's got a lot of his sketches, and he's just as good. I would argue he's just as good as any other concept designer I've seen out there. He'll do sketches on tone paper, and in fact, I'm really thinking I'm actually going to meet up with them this weekend, and we're just going to be talking about sketches and that sort of thing. So I think I was kind of digressing because you asked me a question if I've done it. So anyway, the short answer was no, but I guess the long answer is that, again, there's a value to it. Even though he doesn't do it professionally, he gets, again, it's part of his development. It's just part of growth, personal growth, to be better and to excel at what you want to do, because it helps you generate more ideas. So there technique. Okay, Alex Pantoja. Okay, he's asking me another question here. Is there a technique to have a good way for drawing, or simply is practice? Oh, that's okay. I mean, don't worry about it. Nothing wrong with the question. It's okay. You don't know what you don't know. It's all good. Uh, so yeah. So by and large, most of it is practice. But you can practice the wrong thing. Okay. Uh, just because you practice doesn't mean you're going to get better. You have to make sure that what you're practicing is the right thing to practice, and that you have to kind of resign yourself to the fact that you're going to go through a lot of terrible drawings at the beginning, and it's okay. Don't get don't get dejected. Don't get demoralized about it. We all go through those stages. If I had shown you some of the drawings that I have when I started, most of you here would probably even look at it and says, "I can't believe there's hope for me." Or you might even say, "I can do better than that," which I hope you do. I think that would be great. So, yeah. So anyway, the thing is, practice. Practice is really what's going to be uh, probably more than anything else. You do not have to be born with talent. I'll tell you that right now. You do not have to be born with talent. If you're born with talent, then God bless you. That means that you can probably get there a little bit faster. But the person who's very talented that doesn't take advantage of his skill set can be uh, can be easily surpassed by the ambitious person, the person who doesn't have the natural talent, but he has the drive and he has the determination to excel. So remember that. Always remember that. All right. Michael, all right. You mentioned UI, UX. Is there a fear that exterior car styling will become less important to the future, or how will they? Oh, that's a good question. All right. How will they differentiate themselves? I okay. All right. Maybe just software. Okay. Well, that's a very, very good question. And all this stuff is all kind of in the works. It's a great question. It's a tough question for me to answer. I think people are still going to want a beautiful looking car. So I don't think that's going to totally go away. I think how we reinterpret the interior is going to change. That's why they're saying that there's going to be a lot of focus on the autonomous vehicle, autonomous driving. All those things are going to be the main focus. So software development. Give me 1 second. I'm just trying to make some adjustments here for my tube. But software development, all those things are going to be still very, very critical for the development and robustness of the design. And I still think that exterior design is probably going to also play a role. It's just that because you're not going to be really driving, uh, the focus on the interior and how you utilize the space, all of that is going to change. Now people may be able to enjoy a chair that has a massage or something. I don't know. But some of those creature comforts or the comforts that we see at home might start making more of its way inside. So now you might be browsing more, right? If the cars end up being completely safe and they find a way that is completely bulletproof, then those are the things that they're going to be looking for in the future. What does that really look like for people? Um, so anyway, I still think that exterior wise, there might be some importance, but because this is all going to be new, there's going to be a lot of activity, I think, because again, there's an X amount of time to be able to develop your vehicle, and if the focus ends up not being, it's not that they're going to make a car that looks ugly, obviously, but they're going to probably really concentrate on the experience that people are going to have when they're inside of that vehicle. Ron Fortunato. Hey, Ron. How are you, buddy? Okay. So, Tragus. Okay. So, I got that. Now, 20. All right. Uh, Trajas, he writes, wish I'd put more effort at the time already. 24 now. I forgot sketching too. Too much studying chemistry, making up for it. Dude, you're young. You got all the time in the world. Seriously, if I were 24, I tell you what, I'd be. You got more time than you need. If you're not married and you don't have kids, you won't believe how much time you actually have. Uh, it can be done. So don't worry about it. But what you should do, if anybody out there right now, I guess, is really serious about improving their craft, just to make sure you understand that there's plenty of time. There's plenty of time left to continue to improve it. It takes, but you just have to make sure that you develop a routine and make sure you put the effort. Okay. Comments on no grill design, like the Tesla. Like Tesla. Okay. Well, I don't think that's again another very good question. I think obviously for Tesla, it's not important. It has always been important for many other brands. Look at the Aston Martin. The grills have always been a part of their branding. The treatment of the grill. You look at Dodge. You look at Chrysler. You look at Ford. They all have very distinct shapes. And sometimes Ford, I'm not uh, quite too certain. Dodge, right? Dodge has not changed their grill. Uh, BMW as well. BMW with the lights. They're all part of the history and the heritage of those vehicles. With Tesla, it's new. It's new to the market, and they don't need it. But I do feel that I think probably in the future that they will probably be able to play with some of that stuff as they start to optimize the design and that sort of thing. So uh, I don't know. I think people are just eventually going to get used to it as time goes by. People are just not going to care because when you look at the performance of the Tesla and what you're getting, you're paying a lot of money. But if you were to think about what if you were to think maybe 10, 15 years ago that somebody would be able to produce an electric car that could seat 7 people and rival some of these supercars, I think people would say that you're crazy. And so, obviously for them, they're changing the game, they're redefining things. And so they're free to define whatever they want to do and run with it. So some of those things may not be as much of an important factor, especially if they're heading toward the autonomous vehicle thing, where the exterior is not really going to matter that much. So I guess time will tell. I've seen the Tesla. I kind of felt it was a little bit boring at the front without having the grill, but again, overall, styling wise, I love it. I really do. I really do like it. It's got a very low CG because of the batteries and everything, and the performance is fantastic. And hopefully they just keep making that technology better. But obviously, you can't make technology better unless you start from somewhere, and you continue to invest that time and that energy to optimize it. So Mercedes Benz, it looks horrible. Yeah, I mean all that stuff, Neeson. I think it's all opinion. I mean, people have different set of standards and what they feel is they can emotionally connect with. I love, by the way, the BMWs. To me, some of my friends don't like it, but the 3 Series, especially the 2013 or 12, even 13 and beyond, I think they're just really sharp. I mean, proportionally, They've got some of the best proportions. The weight distribution 50/50 has been, and the performance that you get for a sedan of that caliber, or that luxury car at that caliber, is pretty amazing. So I think all around the BMWs, I've really enjoyed their styling. One of the ones that I think are a little bit crazy, I know I did see some of the ones that are, I thought maybe overdoing it a little bit, but Nissan, uh, Nissan, Infinity seem to be trying to push the boundaries. Audi is probably one of my, so Audi, I just say it, I feel so, sounds so anti, like not liking my, like the Ford and Chryslers, but when I really enjoy the Audis and the BMWs, the German cars. I think as a whole are doing pretty good. I kind of see the other OEMs uh, understanding that form language and trying to repeat that kind of success in some of their form language. So. Rowo the Elite. All right. I'm not quite sure what he's saying there, but I got another person saying something. Okay, we're going to go for a little while longer. I think of anything else. Struggles. Keep talking to me about your struggles. It's George. It's George Lopez. I look like George Lopez. Really? You know what? I can do some really damn good impersonations, by the way. So I think maybe I should probably integrate some of those things into my some of my videos here. I don't think, yeah. So Trey just said, just hoping that car's not gonna look like eggs on four wheels. I don't think that's gonna happen anytime soon. SpaceX rocket looks amazing though. Simple and pure, not boring. I have a vague resemblance. You know what? I would tell you, my cousin probably looks more like George Lopez than I do. No, no impersonations. No way. I gotta save it, man. I can't give you everything, man. Come on. You'll get it. Don't worry. I'll put it up there. George Lopez. By the way, the guy is hilarious. I love George Lopez. I think I watched him. I was trying to remember if I watched him on Netflix or something, but he's great. Concepts looking like rocket ships. Really? This is from Neeson the Farmer. Concepts. I remember concepts looking like rocket ships from the 50s. 50s were really good. Like GM, right? Harley Earl. If you look at some of the designs that Harley Earl has done, they looked pretty damn good. Okay, just hope cars. What else? Here, I'm just scrolling through here, trying to see if I missed anything. And so I gotta ask you, I hope you guys are having fun. I hope this is kind of beneficial because, yeah, I'd like to do probably more of some of this stuff if you guys are game. So maybe we can do something like this, hang out and start asking some questions and do some drawing or something. Okay, so Harshit has asked, I want to take up automobile designing in college, but my sketching is not very good. So yes, Neeson the Farmer, he's said it correctly. Practice makes perfect. So I would say that it's like anybody. Don't be too impatient to get better. Just make sure that you put in the time. There's a guy that I've been talking to, and we've been having this conversation back and forth. And he had purchased the course, and I've been kind of monitoring his his progress, and I've been really surprised at how quickly he's been getting up to speed in his sketching. And I looked at, where did he start off, and now like 3 months later, where is he at now? And obviously, he's not like designer level, but I'd have to say, wow. I mean, amazing improvement. And so it really is going to be up to you. Input equals output, right? If you put in the time, you're going to get better results than somebody else that doesn't put in the time. It's really that simple. So my advice is just you if you're inspired, keep practicing, keep drawing. Don't get discouraged anytime you see a bad drawing of yours, because you're going to go through a lot of them. I want to do master's in industrial design. Most of the sciences are asking for a foundation course, and even the course of the course of the cost of the course is costing. Can you give me suggestions? Um, okay, so all right, so a question from Shiva that uh, the foundation course is costly. So I don't know what costly means to you. But I will say that design school is costly, and it really depends on how badly you want it, or how badly you want to get into the particular field and the curriculum. Uh, Sometimes people just have doubts on whether they can make it, and I'm not gonna lie, it's not easy. Uh, it's not easy at all. It's hard because you're going to be competing with a lot of other people that want uh, to perform, and they want that dream really bad. So I think you need to really kind of, Shiva, reflect. uh, What is your end goal? What do you really want to do? And is that investment, self-investment, is it worth it? Is it worth it to you? So that's something that only you can answer. Um, and yeah, it is expensive. I mean, I won't discount that things are not expensive. But when you come to the United States, or you go to a school like CCS, and you go to a school like Art Center, I think, is something like a ridiculous 160,000 or $180,000 or something. I don't quite remember the full thing. That's with the room and board and everything. But whew, man, that's a lot. I mean, even here, if you're going to engineering school, you're going to pay between 60 to 80,000 in state to go to a public school. University of Michigan is really expensive, but even CCS, you're going to pay over $120,000. So you have to take a foundation course, and it's only, it's $1,000, or 45,000 or 63,000 rupees or something. I mean, I don't know. I don't. You said you're in UK. Then that's something you got to outweigh. Is it worth it? Is it worth it to you? Is the investing in yourself to get better in something you love, is it worth it to you? And that's something you need to think about on your own. So. Okay, Mike. Will people have the same connection with autonomous cars as they do with old cars? Because now you are a passenger, not a driver, and they will wash it. And will they wash it at the weekend? I don't know. You know what? I know I enjoy washing my car. It's gonna be hard to predict. I think still. It depends on boy, I guess it just depends on human habits. Once you are, think about how you are in a train. You're basically sitting in that train, and it's taking you from point A to point B. If autonomous vehicles ends up being that, maybe you won't care. But again, you own it. You own the vehicle. So, I'm not sure. I'll have to say it's kind of interesting. Uh, I don't know. For me, if I had an autonomous vehicle, I would probably, I'd probably take care of it regardless. I would probably, unless it looked really terrible, maybe I wouldn't care. But yeah, I guess it depends. I mean, for my car, I absolutely love my car. So I love to wash that thing and make it look pristine. I've done that with all my cars that I've had. I'm a car guy, so I guess it just depends. It's a good question. I don't think I answered it very well, but it's a good question. That's why it's good. Thoughts on Art Center College of Design. All right, we talked about that. It's just how to draw edges, shape, I'll just body, picturing in your head. Okay. Shivar Travis. Thoughts on Art Center College of Design. Art Center is it's a very good school. I don't, unfortunately though, this is just from the past, and I've known that Scott Robertson has taught at the school way back, quite some time ago, but they're well known and they are known for a reason, but that doesn't mean other schools are not catching up. Like I said, the stigma of some of these, or I would say that the reputation of these schools and just the birth of the internet and giving people access to information, I think it's up the game for everybody. I think everybody now has access to good information and they can learn a lot. So, people who want to get into Art Center, you can. I just, to me, my whole view on education is a lot different now than it was 15, 20 years ago, because I think education was more affordable back then. Now you have to really think, if you graduate from Art Center with $180,000 in debt, you have to see, and then the competition also. It's not that you're guaranteed a first level spot in transportation in at an OEM. They're going to pick the best of the best. So if you weigh all those things, then I think that's something you have to kind of think, and you have to always push yourself and make sure that you are trying to be better than the next person and competing, and not get discouraged. And it's tough. It's a lot for people to handle. But again, I don't know with the autonomous vehicle thing that there are other opportunities. You don't have to go into Art Center. Like we were discussing before, you can get into interface design. I think a lot of things is going to be software driven. So, I mean, as long as you have an interest in some of those things, then there's always going to be a lot of great opportunities there as well. So, but Art Center, I mean, it's a good school. I mean, there's a reason why it still has a reputation of having the cream of the crop. But so is CCS, and Cleveland Institute of Art is also very good, and University of or I'm drawing a blank because it's getting late. Cleveland Institute of Art. I said CCS and Lawrence Tech. Again, they're all schools. They all have a different way of teaching and stuff. So, but you definitely have to do your research and look at the job placement and talk to other students that have gone to those schools, because I've been out of the game as well. So talking to those people and making sure that they are sharing their experiences and what they think of the professors. I've heard that things are a little bit different in Art Center than it used to be. So that's something that you should probably research. Do I draw on the computer? Oh yeah. Okay. Do you draw on the computer? I do. I do. I do digital painting. In fact, what you see behind me, uh, this stuff is all digital. So this was done in digital painting in Photoshop. I'm still working on this one. That's acrylic. That's real acrylic painting. And then I've got, it's hard to see, but I've got the Porsche, the GT3. That's also digital painting. But for me, I like to, I don't want to say, I hate saying, I'm trying to keep it real, but I really enjoy the relationship that I have with real materials. There's something of working with the actual materials before you go into digital. Digital it's nice, but it's just a tool. And when you get into the professional environment, you can't get away with it. You have to do it. I mean, because you're not creating art. You are creating a product that needs to be sold. And all you're trying to do is communicate the idea. So the faster you can communicate an idea, the better it is for you to be able to share those images with your colleagues or have a critique. No one's going to draw as much by hand. Actually, at the beginning they do. You know, my friends, they still use marker paper and they'll draw and sketch. But when it comes to a presentation, they are going to, we all have Cintiq tablets and you sketch on your Cintiq. So they may start off with a sketch by hand. They'll scan that in and they'll sketch over it, or they'll render over that with their Cintiq. And they'll continue to do more concepts that way. So, but yeah, I still do digital. I still make sure I'm engaged in that. Oh, thank you, Joe Costello. Thank you very much. I'm glad you liked it. Whew. All right, we are going on, I think, about an hour and a half. You guys having fun? You like this? Give me some love. Give me some love. Pencils for my outlines. I use Verithin pencils. I use Prismacolor pencils, the Premiers. Prismacolor pencils are kind of they're kind of pricey, but typically I'll either do that or I'll just use a pen to do my outline. So using a pen, and sometimes I just sometimes even start. So I did this for my son. I did this for my kid because he's a big fan of Transformers, as am I. But so you know, I'll draw things like Transformers, and I'll just start with a pen. I don't really worry about making mistakes anymore because I just don't care. If I screw it up, all right, I screwed up, big deal. So I'll start by pen. I used to get really intimidated when I was using a Sharpie marker, but if you look at a lot of my videos, I don't. I mean, sometimes I just start off with Sharpie markers. A couple of other things, like for these like sketches, like marker renderings like this. I won't even plan it. I started this with I started it with a very unlikely marker color. I think it was kind of like a brown. You can kind of see it a little bit. It's like a brown marker. And I just start sketching. I just start to draw it. Some people will use blue indigo, or they'll use a very light marker, like a 30% gray. And I do that also. If I'm doing something pretty complicated, then maybe I might do that, because I'll start with my construction lines and I may want to see it hidden a little bit. But over and all, I don't, I'll just start drawing right off the bat. And then here's another thing. I'll show you this. I'd posted. I'll show you some drawings here. Um, this one was in the works. Again, another one for my kids. So jazz on marker paper. But here is an example of there's so much going on that I'll start to outline the construction lines in a gray, like 40% gray. 40 or 60% gray, warm gray. And then I've got, again, here's just another example where I'm just experimenting. I don't draw animals, but again, it's pretty liberating just to do something different. But again, here, I'll start my drawing process just like I do anything else. It's just I'll just draw my construction lines, and then I've already got technique already. So I'll just replicate the same technique on a different subject. It's not perfect, but it works. Helps. So there's that. All right, what other questions here? Yeah, Ronit, that's correct. The big deal is to, or the main thing is to do it regularly in practice. Neeson, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Exhaust 24. I still am afraid to commit to drawings for fear that I will mess it up. Don't worry about it. Like I said, do not fall in love with your drawings. Especially, again, it's just a journey. It's just a journey. It's not meant to, it's just a process, right? It's just that as you're going through that, you're going to be creating many of those drawings along that journey, especially if you're going to school. If you're going to school, then that's the first thing your professor is going to do. You're going to sit there and you're going to labor over something, and he's going to take that and he's just going to rip it up right in front of you. And you're going to go, how could you? And he's going to say, I could, because you're going to do like 10,000 more of these. But anyway, yeah. So the key thing is just to get started and to just make it a habit, make it a daily habit. I think you'll be amazed. And anybody out there who thinks they don't have enough time, even if you're a professional, even if you have a family, what you realize is that you can find spots. Even for me, when I showed you this was 15 minutes. It took me 15 minutes to do this, and I did this during my son's karate class. So anytime that I can get a little bit of time to do to draw something, then I do it. If I'm going to be doing videos for you guys on YouTube, then after my routine is done and my kids are in bed, then I set aside a clump of time to work on my videos, and I plan that out. So if I can do it being this busy and working full time, I'm sure you'll find an opportunity to spend more time on your drawing. So okay, I'm sorry, I'm just reading here. So okay. All right, it's a good question. How do you store your sketches? Do you frequently go back to your older ones for design ideas? I draw mostly loose paper. You know what? Right now, because like all the sketches that I have on YouTube, I've just kept. So I just take a clip and take all my 11 by 17 sheets of paper and just clip them, and I just keep them. And it's not a lot of the stuff I'm doing. It's just practice. So it's not for me to get inspired. But if I do want to get inspired, I'll just look at everyday objects. I'll just look at other things. I'll try to see how I can connect other ideas or other products with something else that I'm doing. That's why the concept designers and people in the entertainment industry, they look at uh, they'll look at animals and they'll say, "Oh, I kind of like this shape of the shark, and let's see how I can kind of take some of these shapes and convert it to a proper design or something like that." So, but I generally keep them. I generally keep them because, hey, maybe I can use that as an underlay for something else, or that sort of thing, or heck, maybe I just want to give it away to somebody. I don't know. I've actually got some of my older sketches when I started. A lot of my buddies have thrown them away. I know my wife wants me to throw them away because I take up a lot of space with all this stuff. Uh, to me, it's a reminder. It's a reminder of the progress. And every time I look back and I felt that I couldn't do something, I look back at those sketches and I know that I've proven to myself that I can. I mean, we're all the same here, to be quite frank. We're not different. The only difference between you and me is that you are me maybe 20 years ago. For me, that's the only difference. We all start the same from ground zero, and we all struggle. So what are the struggles you have are the struggles that I have, but you keep working to overcome them, and you will overcome them. You have to make sure that you have that uh, that mindset for it. Sorry, I'm going through more. All right, I'm gonna go a few more minutes here. Sorry, going through your comments. This is what inspires me to sketch cars feel awesome. How do you remove fear of spoiling a sketch? Well, okay, all right. How do you remove the fear of spoiling a sketch while learning? Okay, removing the fear of spoiling a sketch. You know what? The same mechanism that's happening to your brain to have that kind of mindset where you're feeling that you're going to ruin a sketch is what's prohibiting you from excelling or focusing on the work. One of the things I do, I listen to some music and I start sketching. Anything that's calming that will distract me. But what you really need to do is figure out a way to stop the left side of your brain from talking to your right side of the brain. Your right side of the brain is the creative side, okay, your right hemisphere. And the right hemisphere is mainly allowing you to observe and to appreciate the artistic side of things. The left side of the brain is your rational side, the analytical side. And that analytical side is constantly telling your right side that you can't do this. Okay. So one of the things that I also do, it's no different. And the most intimidating thing to do is start with a white page, a white blank page. So that's why oftentimes when you see me draw on newsprint, there's a reason why I draw on newsprint paper, because newsprint paper is just crappy paper. So already I've kind of gotten rid of some of the mental barriers of saying I got to make the sketch perfect. So if you start with like newsprint pad or just some scrap paper, sketch on that. Sketch on don't take marker paper or something that's or vellum or anything like that. Just take copy paper. If you take copy paper, you're just not going to care. Or like I said, newsprint paper is excellent for that. It's throwaway paper. You're not going to care. And that's how I started, like I said, on some of my YouTube videos, because it got rid of some of that anxiety. I mean, heck, man, when I'm drawing and you think I don't get a little bit anxious? I get a little bit. Heck, I was a hell of a lot anxious yesterday when I was drawing live. I said, if something can go wrong, it's going to go wrong. So uh, it's okay. It just that's what I would do. And the main thing is just to get some stuff down, and maybe start off by saying that I need to do 10 pages of something. So if you say I got to do 10 pages of something, then that first page you're not going to care. You just got to get it out of the way. Yep. Yep. Neeson the farmer. Yep. That's correct. That's perfect. Sketchbooks. Hey, but seriously, I mean, sketchbooks are also are good. I mean, I do keep sketchbooks. I've got a few sketchbooks. Uh, Again, you guys had to think about it as your visual journal. That's all it is. It's getting your thoughts, everything down on paper, and really try not to worry about what it looks like. Just do not care. Try to look at the things that you're doing as a means to inspire you, but don't use it as a means that's going to discourage you from wanting to do something. Um, what vintage car designs do I admire? Okay, no, that's a really good. I like that. So vintage cars, I would say, uh, the one of my favorites is probably the 63 Aston Martin DB5. I love the Aston Martins. Classic design, beautiful. That's probably one of the reasons why I was even that I'd drawn it the other day. A lot of the Corvettes, I've really loved the 50 style Corvettes. Just the sharper lines, the aggressive posture on the vehicles have also been one of my favorites. You probably weren't there earlier before, but I was sharing uh, the Ford GTs and uh, the Mark IV. These are probably one of my other favorite vehicles. I have so many to name. I love the open wheels, the 1960s, the Grand Prix cars. I really enjoyed for different reasons. They're the cigar, very basic cigar shaped cars, but so they're the ones that I really liked. Uh, some of the old classic 250 GT, I think the Ferrari. Um, that's one of my favorites as well. Boy, whew, that's the problem. I've got really quite a few of them. Should even look at my cabinet and what I got there. Oh yeah, gotta love the Mustang. You gotta love the Mustang. So uh, GT 500. Let me see what else. What other comments? So anyway, there's just a handful of stuff that I like. If you look at my channel, you'll see a lot of the classic cars. I'll sit there and draw a bunch of them. So that's a good way to kind of see some of the things that I'm interested in. Plans to for a cart with an old kayak for a body. Those That's cool. That's funny. Lancia. Yeah, Lancia. That is actually a cool one. That is a cool one. Okay. All right. Well, I think we've covered quite a bit. So I'm gonna probably wrap it up. We've got a nice 2 hours into this, and I was gonna do an hour, but like I really enjoyed. This was really a lot of fun. So if you have more questions, and definitely make sure you go on to the blog. And by the way, on the blog you can also sign up. There is on Driven to Draw, I have a ultimate guide, sketching techniques. So if you don't have it already, definitely go to the blog. And if you look at that, you'll be able to get a pretty good spread on some of the fundamentals in design, what they're for, and how do you apply some of those things. You know, what to look for when you are on that journey to drawing and stuff. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know I did. I'm just going to look through the last comments here. I wanted to thank everybody, by the way, for to watch me on here. This is, by the way, all new. If I was very clunky about the whole thing, I have to say I apologize. I'll get better at this, and maybe I'll do some impersonations, but I doubt it. So, yep. Thank you, Joe Costello. I appreciate it. Michael, thank you. Ronit, Shivar, Neeson the farmer. Yeah. Yep, we'll have another one of these for sure. And by the way, if you know other people who are interested in this stuff, let them know. You know, spread the love, spread the word on our channel. I'd really like to spread the value of drawing. So a lot of the things that we're going to be doing here is not going to be specifically automotive based, but it's really going to be teaching people how to engage in the arts, how to really increase their level of creativity. What are the things that they need to do? And not so much as being a professional, even though the things I'm going to be teaching can get you to some of those levels, but really going across the board to helping many people realize their unrealized potential. Everybody has potential. I want a lot of you to believe that there is hidden talent. We just have to figure out, how do we unleash it? How do we bring it out of you? So that's going to be the main the crux of this channel. That's going to be the main message of this channel, is to really help people to be better artists, better designers, and better creatives, and answering those questions and how do we do that. So again, thank you very much, guys. I really enjoyed it, and we will see you next time here on Driven to Draw. Bye for now.